In the bustling heart of downtown Chicago, a towering glass building stood as the headquarters of Apex Innovations, a leading tech firm known for its cutting-edge solutions and diverse workforce. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with creativity and ambition, but beneath the polished exterior lay an undercurrent of tension that few could see. Meet Jessica Carter, a bright and talented software engineer who had been with Apex for 3 years. With her quick wit and innovative ideas, Jessica was a rising star in the company. She was known for her collaborative spirit and ability to solve complex problems. However, her journey at Apex was not without its challenges. As one of the few black employees in her department, Jessica often felt the weight of scrutiny that came with being a minority in a predominantly white corporate environment. On the other side of the office was Mark Thompson, the newly appointed manager of Jessica's team. Mark was well liked by upper management, but his leadership style left much to be desired. He often made offhand comments that hinted at his outdated views on race and gender. While he presented himself as a champion of diversity, his actions told a different story. Rumors swirled around the office about his questionable hiring practices and how he favored certain employees over others. As the weeks passed, tensions began to rise. Jessica had been working on a high-stakes project that could potentially secure a major client for Apex. Her team had been putting in long hours, and Jessica was determined to deliver exceptional results. However, Mark's constant micromanagement made it increasingly difficult for her to focus. He often interrupted her during meetings, dismissing her ideas while praising those of her white colleagues. One fateful afternoon, as Jessica was finalizing her presentation for an important client meeting, Mark called her into his office. The air was thick with unease as she stepped inside. "Jessica," he began, leaning back in his chair with an air of superiority, "I've been reviewing your work lately." Jessica felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She had poured her heart into this project. She knew it was good. "Yes, Mark? I'm excited to hear your feedback," she replied cautiously. Mark's expression shifted from casual indifference to something more sinister. "I just don't think you're cut out for this kind of work," he said bluntly. "Maybe you should consider looking for opportunities elsewhere." Stunned, Jessica struggled to process his words. "Are you firing me?" she asked incredulously. Mark shrugged dismissively. "Let's just say you're not fitting in with the team," he replied coldly. "We need someone who can really take charge." Jessica's heart raced as she realized what was happening. This wasn't just about her performance. It was about something much deeper. Prejudice masked as professional critique. She took a deep breath, trying to maintain her composure. "I've worked hard for this position and have contributed significantly to our projects," she asserted firmly. Mark leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "You might want to reconsider your approach here," he warned, his tone dripping with condescension. "This is a competitive industry, and frankly, I don't think you have what it takes." Feeling defeated, yet determined not to show weakness, Jessica stood up straight and replied, "I deserve better than this treatment." With that, she turned on her heel and walked out of his office, fighting back tears of frustration and anger. As she returned to her desk, whispers filled the air around her. Colleagues exchanged glances filled with sympathy and disbelief at what had just transpired. Jessica knew that many had witnessed Mark's behavior over time. They understood the implications of his words all too well. That evening, after leaving the office behind for what she thought would be the last time, Jessica sat in her car outside a local coffee shop. She felt devastated but also empowered by the truth of what had happened. She decided then and there that this wouldn't be the end of her story. As fate would have it, Jessica had been applying for new positions while working at Apex. Her ambition never waned despite the challenges she faced. Little did she know that an opportunity awaited just around the corner that would change everything. Unbeknownst to Mark Thompson, Apex Innovations had recently undergone significant changes at the executive level. The company had hired a new regional director who was passionate about fostering diversity and inclusion within the workplace, a position that Jessica had applied for weeks prior without any knowledge of who would ultimately fill it. As Jessica drove home that night, determination surged within her. She would not allow Mark's racism or ignorance to define her career or diminish her worth. Instead, she vowed to rise above it all, no matter what it took. The incident. The following morning, Jessica woke up feeling a mix of anxiety and determination. The events of the previous day replayed in her mind like a haunting melody, but she refused to let Mark Thompson's words dictate her future. Instead, she focused on her job applications, determined to find a place where her talents would be recognized and valued. As she sipped her coffee, Jessica opened her laptop and began reviewing the job postings she had saved. Each opportunity represented hope, a chance to escape the toxic environment at Apex. She meticulously crafted cover letters, pouring her heart into each one, ensuring that her passion for technology and innovation shone through. Meanwhile, at Apex Innovations, Mark was feeling the pressure of his actions. His decision to fire Jessica had not gone unnoticed. Several employees had expressed their concerns to HR about his management style and the atmosphere he fostered within the team. However, Mark was determined to maintain control and dismiss any talk of discontent among his staff. Later that week, a company-wide meeting was scheduled to discuss upcoming projects and initiatives. Mark saw this as an opportunity to showcase his leadership while diverting attention from the growing unrest among his team. As he prepared his presentation, he felt a surge of confidence. After all, he believed he was untouchable in his position. On the day of the meeting, employees gathered in the large conference room, a mix of excitement and apprehension filling the air. As Mark took the stage, he exuded an aura of authority that masked his insecurities. He began discussing the company's goals for the upcoming quarter, highlighting various projects and their potential impact on Apex's growth. However, as he spoke, Jessica sat in her small apartment across town, anxiously awaiting news about her job applications. She had submitted her resume for several positions and was hopeful that one would lead to a breakthrough. Her phone buzzed with notifications, a reminder for an interview she had scheduled with another tech firm later that week. Just as Mark was about to move on to the next topic in the meeting, he casually mentioned Jessica's recent departure from Apex. "I know some of you may have heard about Jessica Carter leaving us," he said with a dismissive wave of his hand. "We're looking for someone who can fill that role, someone who fits better with our team culture." A murmur rippled through the audience as employees exchanged uneasy glances. Many knew Jessica's worth. They had seen her hard work and dedication firsthand. The atmosphere grew tense as whispers circulated about Mark's comments. In that moment, Sarah, one of Jessica's closest colleagues who had witnessed the incident firsthand, couldn't hold back any longer. "Mark," she interjected boldly, "Jessica was one of our best engineers. The way you treated her was completely uncalled for." Mark's face flushed with anger at being challenged publicly. "This isn't about personal feelings. It's about business," he retorted sharply. "We need people who can contribute positively to our team dynamics." Sarah stood her ground. "But you can't just dismiss someone because they don't fit your narrow view of what a team member should look like. That's not how diversity works." The tension in the room escalated as more employees began voicing their agreement with Sarah. They were tired of Mark's dismissive attitude toward their colleague and were ready to stand up against his behavior. As the confrontation unfolded in the conference room, Jessica sat in her apartment unaware of the storm brewing at Apex. She was focused on preparing for her upcoming interview, her chance to prove herself elsewhere. The next day arrived with a mix of anticipation and nerves as Jessica prepared for her interview at TechWave Solutions, a company known for its commitment to diversity and innovation in technology. She dressed professionally but added a touch of flair with vibrant accessories that reflected her personality. As she entered TechWave's sleek office building, she felt a wave of optimism wash over her. The atmosphere was bright and welcoming. Employees greeted each other with smiles and genuine warmth, a stark contrast to what she had experienced at Apex. During the interview process, Jessica felt empowered as she shared her experiences and accomplishments with the hiring panel. She spoke passionately about her projects at Apex and how she had navigated challenges while fostering collaboration within diverse teams. Meanwhile, back at Apex Innovations, tensions continued to rise following Sarah's confrontation with Mark during the meeting. Employees were rallying together in support of Jessica, discussing ways they could address Mark's behavior without jeopardizing their own positions. In an unexpected twist, news began circulating within the company that Apex Innovations was undergoing significant changes at the executive level due to declining morale among employees and concerns raised by HR regarding diversity initiatives, or lack thereof. As Jessica finished up her interview at TechWave Solutions that afternoon, she received an email notification on her phone, an invitation for a follow-up interview. Her heart raced with excitement. This could be the opportunity she had been waiting for. Later that evening, as she celebrated with friends over dinner, Jessica received another unexpected message, a LinkedIn notification from Rachel Lott, TechWave's new regional director who had recently joined after leaving a similar position at another tech firm known for its inclusive culture. Hi, Jessica. I came across your profile while reviewing candidates for our team, Rachel wrote. I'd love to connect further. I believe you'd be a fantastic fit for our upcoming projects. Jessica couldn't believe it. This was an incredible opportunity. Little did she know that Rachel had also been following developments at Apex Innovations and was aware of Jessica's situation there. As days turned into weeks, tensions continued to mount at Apex Innovations following Sarah's courageous stand against Mark Thompson's behavior. Employees were beginning to unite against what they perceived as systemic issues within their workplace culture. One fateful afternoon marked a turning point when Rachel arrived at Apex Innovations for a scheduled meeting with upper management regarding potential collaborations between their companies. As she walked through the halls filled with tension and uncertainty among employees, Rachel couldn't shake off the feeling that something significant was unfolding behind closed doors. Consequences. As Rachel stepped into the sleek conference room at Apex Innovations, she was greeted by a mix of familiar faces and new ones. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, and she could sense the underlying tension among the employees. They were aware of the recent upheaval caused by Mark Thompson's management style and Jessica's abrupt departure, but they were also hopeful that change was on the horizon. Rachel took a seat at the head of the table, her presence commanding yet approachable. She began her presentation on potential collaborations between TechWave Solutions and Apex Innovations, emphasizing the importance of diversity and inclusion in driving innovation. In today's tech landscape, diverse teams are proven to outperform their homogeneous counterparts, she stated confidently. At TechWave, we are committed to fostering an inclusive environment that empowers every voice. As Rachel spoke, several employees exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of admiration and curiosity. They were eager to hear what she had to say, especially in light of recent events. Mark sat at the opposite end of the table, his demeanor tense as he listened to Rachel's words. He had always prided himself on being a strong leader, but now he felt increasingly cornered by the mounting pressure from his team and the looming presence of Rachel. After Rachel concluded her presentation, she opened the floor for questions. Sarah seized the opportunity. Rachel, thank you for your insights. Given what's been happening at Apex recently, do you believe there's room for improvement in our current management practices? Rachel nodded thoughtfully. Absolutely. Every organization has its challenges, but it's crucial to address them head-on. Open dialogue is essential for growth. Her gaze shifted toward Mark, who was visibly uncomfortable under her scrutiny. The meeting continued with discussions about potential joint projects and strategies for enhancing workplace culture. However, as employees shared their ideas and concerns, it became evident that many were still grappling with the fallout from Jessica's firing. Meanwhile, Jessica was riding a wave of optimism after her interview at TechWave Solutions. She had felt an immediate connection with Rachel during their conversation. Rachel's vision for an inclusive workplace resonated deeply with Jessica's own values. As she returned home that evening, Jessica couldn't shake off the feeling that her life was about to change in ways she had never imagined. Days turned into weeks as Jessica navigated her job search while keeping a close eye on developments at Apex Innovations through social media and conversations with former colleagues. She learned that Sarah had taken a stand against Mark Thompson's management style during a company-wide meeting, an act that had sparked discussions about accountability and change within the organization. Back at Apex, Mark was feeling increasingly isolated as more employees began to voice their concerns about his leadership. The support for Jessica grew stronger each day. Employees organized informal gatherings where they shared their experiences and discussed how they could collectively advocate for a healthier work environment. "She's joining us as a lead software engineer, and I'm confident she'll be an incredible asset to our projects." As Jessica settled into her new workspace, she felt a wave of relief wash over her. Here, she was encouraged to express her ideas freely and collaborate with colleagues who valued diversity and inclusion. The contrast between TechWave and Apex was stark. It felt like a breath of fresh air. Meanwhile, back at Apex Innovations, Mark Thompson was grappling with the consequences of his actions. The atmosphere in the office had shifted dramatically since Rachel's arrival. Employees were no longer willing to tolerate his dismissive behavior. They were united in their desire for change. One afternoon, during a scheduled meeting with upper management, Rachel presented her findings from employee feedback surveys. "It's clear that we need to address some serious issues within our team dynamics," she stated firmly. "Our employees deserve an environment where they feel supported and valued." Mark sat in silence, his discomfort palpable as Rachel continued to outline specific concerns raised by employees about his management style. "I believe we need to implement training programs focused on leadership development and inclusivity," Rachel proposed. "This will not only benefit our current team, but also improve our overall performance as a company." As the meeting progressed, it became evident that Mark's position was becoming increasingly precarious. Several executives began to voice their support for Rachel's proposals, recognizing the need for a cultural shift within Apex Innovations. Back at TechWave Solutions, Jessica quickly found her footing within the engineering team. She collaborated on exciting projects that pushed the boundaries of technology while fostering an inclusive environment where everyone's ideas were valued. Her contributions were met with enthusiasm, and she felt empowered to take on leadership roles in discussions. One day, as Jessica worked on a particularly challenging project alongside her colleagues, Rachel stopped by to check in on their progress. "How's everything going?" she asked with genuine interest. Jessica smiled brightly. "We're making great strides. I think we're on track to meet our deadlines ahead of schedule." Rachel nodded approvingly. "That's fantastic. Your leadership on this project has really inspired the team." Jessica felt a sense of pride swell within her. This was what she had always wanted, a workplace that recognized and celebrated her contributions. Meanwhile, back at Apex Innovations, Mark faced mounting pressure from both employees and upper management regarding his leadership approach. The support for Rachel's initiatives grew stronger each day as employees rallied around her vision for change. One afternoon, Sarah gathered several colleagues for an informal meeting to discuss how they could further advocate for change within Apex. "We need to stand together," Sarah urged passionately. "If we want things to improve here, we have to make our voices heard." As they brainstormed ideas for approaching upper management about their concerns regarding Mark's behavior and its impact on morale, Sarah couldn't shake off the feeling that they needed someone like Jessica, a strong advocate who understood their struggles firsthand. Meanwhile, Jessica continued to thrive at TechWave Solutions, where she felt valued not just as an employee, but as an individual with unique perspectives to offer. She often reflected on her journey, how far she had come from the toxic environment at Apex. One afternoon during lunch with her new colleagues, Jessica shared stories about her previous experiences at Apex Innovations, particularly about the challenges she faced under Mark's management style. Her colleagues listened intently as she recounted how Sarah had bravely stood up against Mark during that pivotal meeting. "That takes real courage," one colleague remarked after hearing Jessica's story. Jessica smiled appreciatively. "It does. It shows how important it is for us to support one another in creating a positive work environment." As weeks passed at TechWave Solutions, Jessica received an unexpected email from Rachel inviting her to participate in an upcoming company-wide meeting where they would discuss diversity initiatives and employee engagement strategies. "I'd love for you to share your insights based on your experiences," Rachel wrote. Jessica felt honored by the invitation and eagerly accepted. On the day of the meeting, she prepared thoroughly. She wanted to ensure that her voice would resonate with others who might be facing similar challenges in their workplaces. As employees gathered in the conference room for the meeting, Jessica sat beside Rachel at the front of the room. Rachel opened by discussing TechWave's commitment to fostering an inclusive culture before turning the floor over to Jessica. "Thank you all for having me here today," Jessica began confidently. "I want to share my journey, both my struggles and triumphs, because I believe it's important for us all to understand how our experiences shape our perspectives." As she spoke candidly about her time at Apex Innovations, the challenges posed by Mark's leadership style, and how it affected employee morale, she could see heads nodding in agreement around the room. "I realized that true leadership isn't just about driving results. It's about empowering those around you," Jessica continued passionately. "We all deserve an environment where we feel valued and heard." The room erupted into applause as Jessica concluded her speech. It was clear that her words resonated deeply with everyone present. Many employees shared their own stories afterward, during breakout sessions focused on fostering inclusivity within TechWave Solutions. Meanwhile, back at Apex Innovations, Sarah had organized a meeting with upper management alongside several colleagues who supported Rachel's initiatives for change within their organization. As they entered the conference room filled with executives, including Mark, they felt a mix of nervousness and determination. Sarah stood up first to address the group. "We're here today because we believe in creating a better workplace for everyone at Apex." Mark shifted uncomfortably in his seat as Sarah continued outlining their concerns regarding his management style, while emphasizing how it had impacted employee morale negatively. "We need accountability," another colleague chimed in boldly. "It's time we prioritize our people over profits." The discussion unfolded into passionate exchanges among employees advocating for change, while Mark attempted to defend his actions defensively. As tensions escalated within Apex Innovations regarding leadership accountability issues surrounding Mark Thompson's management style, and as employees rallied around each other, the stage was set for a confrontation that would ultimately lead them toward transformation, reflection, and lessons. As the weeks progressed, the atmosphere at Apex Innovations became increasingly charged. Employees were no longer willing to tolerate Mark Thompson's dismissive behavior. They had found their voices and were ready to demand change. The meeting Sarah had organized with upper management had sparked a movement within the company, and employees began to unite in their quest for a healthier work environment. Meanwhile, at TechWave Solutions, Jessica continued to thrive in her new role. She felt invigorated by the supportive culture and collaborative spirit that permeated the office. Rachel's leadership inspired her to take on new challenges and advocate for inclusivity within her team. Jessica often reflected on her journey. The struggles she faced at Apex had only fueled her determination to succeed in a place that valued her contributions. One day, as Jessica was wrapping up a project with her team, Rachel called for an all-hands meeting. "I want to take a moment to celebrate our achievements," she announced, her voice filled with enthusiasm. "We've made significant strides in our diversity initiatives, and I'm proud of the work we've accomplished together." As Rachel spoke about their progress and future goals, Jessica felt a sense of pride swell within her. She had played a part in shaping this positive culture, and it was rewarding to see their efforts recognized. After the meeting concluded, Rachel approached Jessica with a smile. "I'd love for you to share your insights during our next diversity training session," she said warmly. "Your experiences are invaluable, and I believe they can inspire others." Jessica was honored by the request. "I'd be happy to," she replied enthusiastically. She knew that sharing her story could help others who might be facing similar challenges in their own workplaces. Back at Apex Innovations, the tension continued to rise as employees prepared for another meeting with upper management. Sarah had rallied support from colleagues who were determined to hold Mark accountable for his actions. They were armed with testimonials from team members who had experienced his toxic management style firsthand. As they gathered in the conference room, Sarah took a deep breath before addressing the executives. "We're here today because we believe in creating a workplace where everyone feels valued and respected," she began passionately. "We've seen how Mark's leadership has impacted morale negatively, and it's time for change." Mark sat at the table, his expression hardening as he listened to Sarah's words. He had always prided himself on being a decisive leader, but now he felt cornered by the collective voices of his employees. One by one, colleagues shared their experiences, stories of feeling undervalued, dismissed, or even bullied under Mark's management style. The room grew heavy with emotion as employees spoke candidly about how these experiences had affected their well-being and productivity. As Sarah concluded her presentation, she turned to Mark directly. "We're asking for accountability and change," she stated firmly. "It's time for you to step down from your position as manager." The silence that followed was deafening. Mark shifted uncomfortably in his seat as he processed the gravity of what was happening. He had always believed he was untouchable within the company, but now he faced an undeniable reality. His leadership style was no longer acceptable. Meanwhile, at TechWave Solutions, Jessica prepared for her upcoming diversity training session with excitement and anticipation. She wanted to ensure that her message resonated with her colleagues and inspired them to embrace inclusivity in their own ways. On the day of the training session, Jessica stood before her peers with confidence. She shared her journey, the challenges she faced at Apex Innovations, and how they shaped her understanding of leadership and collaboration. "I learned that true leadership isn't just about driving results, it's about empowering others," Jessica emphasized passionately. "We all have a role to play in creating an inclusive environment where everyone feels valued." As she spoke, she could see nods of agreement around the room. Her colleagues were engaged and inspired by her story. Afterward, they participated in discussions about ways they could foster inclusivity within their teams. Back at Apex Innovations, after hours of emotional testimonies from employees advocating for change, Mark finally broke his silence. "I understand that my management style has not been effective," he admitted reluctantly. "I'm willing to step down if it means creating a better environment for everyone." The room erupted into applause as employees felt a wave of relief wash over them. They had taken a stand together and achieved what once seemed impossible, holding Mark accountable for his actions. In the weeks that followed, Apex Innovations began implementing new training programs focused on leadership development and inclusivity. Initiatives inspired by the collective voices of employees who demanded change. As Jessica continued to flourish at TechWave Solutions, she remained connected with Sarah and other former colleagues from Apex Innovations. They shared updates on their progress as they navigated their respective journeys toward creating inclusive workplaces. One day, Jessica received an unexpected message from Rachel, inviting her to join a panel discussion at an upcoming tech conference focused on diversity in technology. "I believe your story can inspire others," Rachel wrote encouragingly. Jessica felt honored by the invitation and eagerly accepted. As she prepared for the panel discussion alongside industry leaders who shared similar values regarding inclusivity, she reflected on how far she had come, from facing discrimination at Apex Innovations to now standing as an advocate for change in technology. On the day of the conference, Jessica stood before an audience filled with aspiring professionals eager to hear stories of resilience and empowerment. As she shared her journey, from being fired unjustly to finding success in an inclusive environment, she could see faces light up with inspiration. "I want you all to remember this. Your voice matters," Jessica concluded passionately. "No matter where you come from or what challenges you face, never let anyone diminish your worth or potential." The audience erupted into applause as Jessica stepped down from the stage, feeling empowered by her ability to inspire others through vulnerability and authenticity. Back at Apex Innovations, changes continued to unfold as new leadership emerged. A commitment toward fostering inclusivity became ingrained in their corporate culture. As Sarah took on a leadership role departure, she worked tirelessly alongside other passionate employees dedicated to ensuring that everyone felt valued within their workplace. In time, both TechWave Solutions and Apex Innovations became shining examples of how organizations could end inclusion, not just as buzzwords, but as core values that guided their operations. Reflecting on her journey months later during a casual lunch with friends from TechWave Solutions, including Rachel, Jessica couldn't help but feel grateful for everything that had transpired. "Sometimes it takes adversity to reveal our true strength," Rachel remarked thoughtfully as they shared laughter over stories of their experiences in tech. Jessica nodded in agreement. "Absolutely. I've learned so much about resilience and how important it is for us all to lift each other up along the way." As they toasted to new beginnings filled with hope and possibility, their laughter echoed through the air. A testament not just to their individual journeys, but also to the collective power of unity in creating positive change within workplaces everywhere.